time because you're paying them to deliver your traffic to another network. So the more you can peer, the less you depend on your transit providers to be able to deliver your traffic. So this is going to be a fundamental point, especially when you're looking at your peering, the peering for your network. You need to be conscious of the fact that you reduce dependency on transit providers. It costs you money as an organization, and half the time they may not always give you the best paths to some destinations. So if you want to have more control over your traffic, you want to peer. If you need to ensure that traffic goes to a network with the best path selection, then you need to peer more so that you have various options and alternatives to get to specific destinations. So of course, that means that your customers experience improved performance when reaching certain sites. For instance, you do not want to be able to get to Google network from here with 16 hops, whereas there is a provider who can actually give it to you with 4 hops, and all you need to do is go to a location where you can peer with them. So that's something you need to think about. Of course, some people have grown their traffic significantly. I've seen a lot of, especially the mobile network providers in the region. I've seen them with these 3G solutions. Their traffic growth has been, huge within a very short period of time. That means their transit requirements will equally grow as much if they are buying transit. But how else can they actually improve on this in terms of in addition to reducing their dependence on the transit providers, but also distribute their traffic across various other networks? So the only way you can do this, of course, in addition, with the exception of having to get more transit providers, is to actually peer your traffic. I was talking to an ISP sometime, I think last year, and they told me that when they got to London and peered at London, they were able to offload at least 40% of all their network traffic in London through peering. And this is, immediately they got into London, went to London Internet Exchange Point, peered 40%. So all they had to do was look for a transit provider for the remaining 60. And even then, they could cut off a little bit more percentage by just calling up a few more people to peer with them. So they could have reduced that to maybe 40% of where they were looking for transit. So if you don't peer, it means you have to get a transit provider to carry your traffic to the next destination. So that's really important. So having seen why it's important to peer, let's try and understand what's the role of a peering coordinator in all of this. Well, to start with, I believe that at this point in time where we are in the region, it would be very ambitious of me to expect to go to every network operator in Africa and say, you have to hire a peering manager or a peering coordinator. First and foremost, they will try and wonder what my motives are. But we really do need peering coordinators. So my interests in this will be to try and see if you can create within your organizations either a group, an internal working group, which is going to serve the role as a peering coordinators group, or within an existing role, that means either a network administrator has the role to be a peering coordinator. So, and what does the peering coordinators do? Well, the first thing they do is that they ensure their network traffic has the best path or the most optimal path to the destination network. So they will look and see how best can our customers reach Google, how best can our customers reach Facebook. Does it make business sense for us to use this path? So if it does, then the peering coordinator will try and reach the networks or contact the potential peers that they can establish internet peering with, and for them to be able to or rather benefit from the best path option that they are aiming to have. Of course, they should also be able to analyze network traffic flow patterns. you should be able to look at traffic flow data and see this is the network that I'm sending my most traffic to. How can I get there? The interesting thing, and I know we have representative from Google here, is that a lot of traffic goes to Google, but I don't know how many network operators in the region have actually gone writing an email to Google and saying, please peer with me. So, I mean, the point being that not very many people will actually wake up and say, how can I actually get to peer with Google or Akamai or Facebook? And I've had sessions with representatives from those organizations, and they'll say, oh, all the stuff you're telling us is interesting, but we don't get a lot of interest from the region, because if you don't approach them, they seem you're fine. It appears like you're okay. But for some like Google, they see, yes, there's a performance issue, there are challenges to access our content, so we'll try and come and knock on your door. But even when they do so, not everybody is willing to, actually look at it from a positive point of view. So that it actually improves reachability, it enhances the user experience. You're bound to get more happier customers if they can see their YouTube without buffering. All those things are what the role of the peering coordinator, the role of the peering coordinator is to make sure that your customers are happy. And they do not leave you for your competition because your competition has much better peering than you do, or has much better network path to other destination, their customers' destination network compared to your network. So those are the things that the peering coordinator should do. The other thing is that they need to be able to speak. They need to speak at the various events. So what a peering coordinator is not, definitely not a salesman. They don't sell. They're not product managers. Somebody else is responsible for that. They're not BGP experts. There's somebody else who is responsible for handling the BGP stuff. And they are not network architects. What they do is that they make sure that they are able to analyze and feed into the processes of all these groups, the salespeople, the product managers, and the BGP experts and the network architects, such that they achieve the objective, which is moving packets from one end to the other. However, you could be the last two of these. That means a network architect and a BGP expert. And because of the way this region is, especially in view of this region where I clearly would not expect many organizations to hire a peering coordinator for a full-time job, which I would take up very quickly, you could be the last two. That means a BGP expert, somebody who understands network architect. So you have a technical background to be able to understand and develop the peering. So what are the skill sets that a peering coordinator needs to have? So definitely you need to have a technical background. You need to be able to understand the technical aspects of peering, interpret traffic flows. If you've definitely never seen how flows reports look like, then it will be difficult for you to be able to figure out what really makes sense out of it. Of course, the two primary things about peering coordinators are technical and the social. You must be technically at least competent, and social, you must be sociable. You should be the go-to guy. Simply put, if the person who runs a certain network, the peering coordinator, the guy who does the BGP, is the guy you least want to talk to. If they show up at an IX, you'd wish not to talk to them because, they're not friendly. So you have to be friendly. You have to be able to talk to other network operators or other peering coordinators. So that's where the techie bit comes in. And once you're able to make them, talk to you, it's easier to get peering happening. I think statistics that Bill Woodcock presented, I don't know whether he managed to get the time, about the peering survey that PCH did the other day. They showed 99.51% basically on hi, I'd like to peer with you. What do you think? You know, it's not about formal contracts. It's about, you know, the social side of it, so to speak, that you know somebody and you send an email and say, I'd like to peer with you, is that okay? And the person says, yeah, sure. And peering takes place. Of course, if you're not somebody who is sociable, you know, folks will have to think twice about maybe we need to have a contract or some form of formal agreement so that just in case tomorrow you wake up and change your mind. So that's the kind of thing that a peering coordinator needs to have. And of course, he or she needs to have an ability to look at the business side of it. They should be able to develop business opportunities by just identifying places where they can actually go and peer and save revenues for the organization, enhance the network, you know, in terms of how the network is seen by other peers. So there are lots of areas where a peering coordinator can actually help on building the business case or for the organization. Of course, if you can't sit down and calculate peering costs, identify peering locations and opportunities from a business standpoint, then it's highly likely that you may not do very well when it comes to being a peering coordinator. So that business side of it is something you'll need to develop as well. Legal skill sets are not mandatory, but you know, an advantage to have, because there is that 0.8%, 0.9% that is required, because some organizations do have peering agreements that they would like to sign. So for you to be able to negotiate with the peering, with other peering coordinators, you need to have a little bit of an aspect to the legal side. And maybe just, if not you, if you have a legal team within the office, you should be able to talk to your legal office and explain some of these issues and interpret what the legal aspects are to help with the peering negotiations. So it's a useful skill to have. It's not mandatory. Don't go to law school, please, if you're a techie. In conclusion, we are interested to see at least a few people taking up the role of peering coordinators or the function of a peering coordinators within the network. We want to start at this event. So in the course of today, we'll be happy if you can just email me the information that we have on the screen. We'll keep playing it throughout the day. That's your AS number, where you peer, what's your peering policy. If what's your peering policy doesn't make sense, the next few presentations will sort of talk about what's your peering policy, the different types of peering policies that exist, and contact information. So if you could email that to us, then later on we'll find the time so that other people who you can actually come and stand up and introduce yourself, and also say whom you want to peer with. You know, whom are you hoping to peer with? There are a few of network operators I've seen here that in the region that will be happy to start peering with you. So raise up your hand, send the information, stand up and say whom you like to peer with and where you come from. So with that, I'd like to stop there, say thank you, and invite Mark Tinker for the next set of presentations. Thank you. This set of slides is what we are able to see at one exchange point in East Africa. That's the Kenyan Internet Exchange Point. So we do have prefixes, yes, from Ghana and from Mozambique, Uganda, and I think Rwanda as well. Yes, and some from Rwanda. So that's an improvement from what it was in the past. We don't have any networks at the moment from Nigeria that are appearing in Kenya. And the reason being that, one, maybe they haven't actually figured out that they actually need to peer there. And two, it's probably an issue that maybe there isn't much content for them to have to be able to come and peer in Kenya. So it's not an issue of the ISOC chapter or the ISOC activities in that region.